Yes.
That could be our
Yes,
patience
yes,
training.
yes.
Was there, yeah. Was there somebody else here?
Sid.
Oh, Sid. Because I thought I heard something. All right, we're going to go ahead. It's almost 4:45, so let's go ahead and open in prayer, and we'll hop to it.
Yes.
All right, who would like to open us in prayer?
You want me to do
Hey,
it?
won't you?
Praying first and then
I just felt like she's.
That's
got
it. You go
got
for it.
You got it.
Alright. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for each person in this room and all the special love that they bring to each one of us individually and collectively as a group. We thank you for their strengths and for their talents and their time and their gifts and their presence and everything that you tell us to bring to the table as not only a United Methodist but as a Christian, to come together in your glory and to give you the glory for those things in which you have given us. We thank you, Lord, for our pastor. We thank you for everything that she does to keep us together and make sure that we're in your word and doing what we're supposed to be doing as a church family and as individuals and as part of the body of Christ. And be with her tonight. Let the words that she speaks be your words, and may it penetrate our hearts and our minds, and let us go out to the world and do exactly what you want us to do, to make disciples. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
I like your hair. Forget it. It's not going to happen again.
She said it's too much work.
It's cute though.
It is cute.
Hey, Vicky, do you like mine too?
She's like,
I love
not
the
worth
little,
it.
oh, thank you.
Thank you. That's my boy doing.
All right, we're hopping right in, guys.
Jeez.
No.
We're going to look at Leviticus chapter 25.
We're going back.
Oh, we're going back?
We are. That was the homework
Yeah, that was a
assignment.
homework assignment for everyone.
So apparently that you didn't do that.
What's that?
Okay. No sense in pretending.
The doggy.
I was
Dog
asleep.
ate your
I
homework.
think I was asleep.
Uh-huh.
I can fake it out.
All right.
How good is
All right.
that?
Do we have our recorder on, Dennis?
Yep.
All right. I just give you, can I give you guys a heads up? Can you ring the bell for me, please?
Was it Claire? Yeah.
Bring it back. I just want to give you all a heads up. We're being recorded tonight
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
for
Yes.
Sandy. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Sandy.
And anybody else who happens to one day watch.
Hi, Sandy.
Oh, right there.
Because she can't be with us tonight, but she's on the mend, and she will hopefully be returning to us soon. As well as Jim Bob. Right, Jim Bob? Okay. We are in the midst of our beginning study of Ruth. But in order to do some background preparation for understanding the scriptures, we are going to go to Leviticus chapter 25. Y'all thought I was going to go to Genesis, but I'm really moving right along here. We're going to Leviticus.
We'll be in Genesis later.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll make a trip
Levit
back
is
there.
too legit. Levit is too legit.
Okay, who is at Leviticus?
Leviticus 25.
Okay, Leviticus chapter 25. Dennis, would you start us off?
Verse 1.
First one.
The Lord then spoke to Moses at Mount Sinai, saying, Speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, When you come into the land which I shall give you, then the land shall have a Sabbath to the Lord. 6 years you shall sow your field, and then 6 years you shall prune your vineyard and gather in its crop. But during the 7th year, the land shall have a Sabbath rest, a Sabbath to the Lord. You shall not sow your field nor prune your vineyard. Your harvest after growth you shall not reap, and your grapes of untrimmed vines you shall not gather. The land shall have a sabbatical year. All of you shall have the Sabbath products of the land for food, yourself, and your male and your female slaves, and your hired man and your foreign resident, those who live as aliens with you. Even your cattle and animals that are in your land shall have it, all its crops to eat. You are also to count off 7 Sabbaths of years for yourselves, 7 times 7 years, so that you have the time of the 7 Sabbaths of years, namely 49 years. You shall then sound a ram's horn abroad on the 10th day of the 7th month. On the day of atonement you shall sound a horn all through your land. You shall thus consecrate the 50th year and proclaim a release through the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you, and each of you shall return to his own property, and each of you shall return to his family. You shall have the 50th year as a jubilee. You shall not sow nor reap its aftergrowth, nor gather in from its untrimmed vines, for it is a jubilee. It shall be holy to you. You shall eat its crops out of the field. On this year of Jubilee, each of you shall return to his own property. If you make a sale, moreover, to your friend or buy from your friend's hand, you shall not wrong one another. Corresponding to the number of years after the Jubilee, you shall buy from your friend. He is to sell to you according to the number of years of crops. In proportion to the extent of the years, you shall increase its price, and in proportion to the fewness of years, you shall diminish its price. For it is a number of crops he is selling to you. So you shall not wrong one another, but you shall fear your God, for I am the Lord your God.
Okay, thank you. Laura, would you pick up on 18?
Okay. 18, you shall thus observe my statutes and keep my judgments, so as to carry them out, that you may live securely on the land. Then the land will yield its produce, so that you can eat your fill and live securely on it. But if you say, what are we going to eat on the 7th year if we do not sow or gather in crops? Then I will so order my blessing for you in the 6th year, that it will bring forth the crop for 3 years. When you are sowing the 8th year, you can still eat old things from the crop, eating the old until the 9th year when its crop comes in. The land, moreover, shall not be sold permanently, for the land is mine, for you are but aliens and sojourners with me. Thus for every piece of your property you are to provide for the redemption of the land. If a fellow countryman of yours becomes so poor he has to sell part of his property, then his nearest kinsman is to come and buy back what his relative has sold. Or in case a man has no kinsman, but so recovers his means as to find sufficient for its redemption, then he shall calculate the years since its sale, and refund the balance to the man to whom he sold it, and so return to his property. But if he has not found sufficient means to get it back for himself, then what he has sold shall remain in the hands of its purchaser until the year of Jubilee. But at the Jubilee it shall revert, that he may return to his property. Likewise, if a man sells a dwelling house in a walled city, then his redemption right remains valid until a full year from its sale. His right of redemption lasts a full year. But if it is not bought back for him within the space of a full year, then the house that is in the walled city passes permanently to its purchaser throughout his generations. It does not revert in the Jubilee. The houses of the villages, however, which have no surrounding wall, shall be considered as open fields. They have redemption rights and revert in the Jubilee. As for cities of the Levites have a permanent right of redemption for the houses of the cities which are their possession. What therefore belongs to the Levites may be redeemed, and a house sale in the city of its possession reverts in the Jubilee. For the houses of the cities of the Levites are their possessions among the sons of Israel. But pasture fields of their cities shall not be sold, for that is their perpetual possession.
Okay, thank you. Vicki, would you pick up on 35?
Now, in case a countryman of yours becomes poor, and his means with regard to you falter, then you are to sustain him like a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with you. Do not take usurious interest from him, but revere your God, that your countrymen may live with you.
You know what usurious interest is?
No.
Usury. It's you're not charging him interest to use the money.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't know that.
I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God. If a countryman of yours becomes so poor with regard to you that he sells himself to you, you shall not subject him to a slave service. He shall be with you as a hired man, as if he were a sojourner. He shall serve with you until the year of Jubilee. He shall then go out from you, he and his sons with him, and shall go back to his family, and he may return to the property of his forefathers. For they are my servants, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. They are not to be sold in a slave sale. You shall not rule over him with severity, but are to revere your God. As for your male and female slaves whom you have, you may acquire male and female slaves from the pagan nations that are around you. Then too it is out of the sons of the sojourners who live as aliens among you that you may gain acquisition, and out of their families who are with you, whom they will have produced in your land, they also may become your possession. You may even bequeath them to your sons after you, to receive as possessions, but you can use them as permanent slaves. But in respect to your countrymen, the sons of Israel, you shall not rule with severity over one another.
Thank you. Charlie, would you pick up on 47?
Yes. Now, if the means of a stranger or of a sojourner with you becomes sufficient, and a countryman of yours becomes so poor with regard to him as to sell himself to a stranger who is sojourning with you, or to the descendants of a stranger's family, then he shall have redemption right after he has been sold. One of his brothers may redeem him, or his uncle, or his uncle's son may redeem him, or one of his blood relatives from his family may redeem him. Or, if he prospers, he may redeem himself. He then, with his purchases, shall calculate from the year when he sold himself to him up to the year of Jubilee, and the price of his sale shall correspond with the number of years. It is like the days of a hired man, that he shall be with him. If there are still many years, he shall refund part of his purchase price in proportion to them for his own redemption. And if few years remain until the year of Jubilee, he shall so calculate with him in proportion to his years. He is to refund the amount for his redemption. Like a man hired year by year, he shall be with him. He shall not rule over him with severity in your sight. Even if it is not redeemed by these means, he shall still go out in the year of Jubilee, he and his sons with him. For the sons of Israel are my servants. They are my servants whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God.
Okay, thank you. All right. Let's go ahead to the beginning, back to 25 verse 1. And where is this instruction being given?
Mount Sinai.
At Mount Sinai to who?
Moses.
To Moses. And Moses is supposed to do what with it?
Speak to the sons of Israel.
Yes. Okay, he's giving them instruction
Right.
from God as to what they're, how they're to treat one another, how they're to get along economically with one another, right?
Right.
And how they're to get along relationally with one another.
Question.
Sure.
If this is coming from God,
Yes.
then God was okay with slaves.
Yes.
And slaves weren't Christians or followers of God. He was okay with that.
Let's explore that a little more. Okay. Hold that thought for a second.
Good question.
We're gonna develop that. That is an excellent question.
Yep.
An excellent question, because it really has to do
Yeah, I think we
with
all, well, I know I had that.
humanities.
What?
Yeah, we're gonna get there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
It's that
so
compassion gift coming
he's
up.
telling them about the Sabbath rest, you know, that you work for 6 days, or 6 years rather. He's talking about
Right.
Sabbath year. So we see this cycle of a Sabbath week, you know, you have the 7th day, but now he's also saying there's going to be a 7th year. And in addition to the 7th year, what else is there?
7 times
Jubilee.
7.
Yes, Jubilee, which is the 7 times 7
which is
years,
49.
which is 49 years.
Right.
Okay. And then in the 50th year comes the Jubilee, right?
Right.
Okay. You have the what do they call it? Seventh year, the land shall be a Sabbath rest.
50th year of what? When God started this, or from when the
It's a
person-
rotation for every 50 years.
Okay.
It starts out.
So as soon as Moses gave the instruction, then that would be
I
the
would
first
assume that would
year.
be the first year.
Okay.
And then it would start again after the Jubilee. It would start again another cycle of 7 Sabbaths and the year of Jubilee.
How about if things were already happening before this was set? There was already somebody that had to give their land or sell their land.
I would assume that it would start from,
Those would be grandfathered in.
I would assume. I
Well,
don't
they
know.
weren't in the promised land yet, so they didn't have any land yet.
Okay, so this is
Mount
what.
Sinai.
Yeah.
Okay,
This was
so
while they were
this
still
was
wilderness.
Well, that's true. So it would start maybe
Sure.
once they got in and
Okay.
got their possession. So I don't know exactly the time that the clock started. I don't know how they determined
But this
that.
is once they did acquire their land.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, but I don't know exactly when that began. Okay, so let's go. So we've got the rotation of the Sabbath. So he's talking about, in verse 5, your harvests after growth you shall not reap, and your grapes of untrimmed vines you shall not gather. The land shall have a sabbatical year. So they're saying no more new planting, even if it's an accidental planting. No more, however, he does say that what you have planted that year before is going to do what?
Have a bumper crop.
A bumper crop, enough for 3 years. So you're going to get, that is divine
Provision.
provision.
That's like in the story of Joseph.
Yes.
The Pharaoh kept having dreams, the dreams about the wheat and the cows, there was a bunch of fat cows that got eaten by skinny cows, and the cows that were skinny were just as skinny after they ate
Yes.
the fat ones. And so they had,
Yeah.
it was this long story that was basically the Pharaoh was having prophetic dreams about 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine.
Would swallow up.
And
The
Joseph
fat cows.
interpreted the dreams for the Pharaoh, and Pharaoh put him in charge of preparing for this famine, essentially.
Okay, so since we're not doing a complete study of Leviticus 25, we're just going to try to glean.
Sum it up.
Otherwise, we'll be in Leviticus chapter 25 for 3 weeks. Okay, so let's see. In verse 10, Sid, would you read verse 10? Actually, I'm sorry, would you go to 9, 25, 9, and 10?
25, 9, and 10. Then have the trumpet sounded everywhere on the 10th day of the 7th month, on the day of atonement. Sound the trumpet throughout your land. Consecrate the 15th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you. Each one of you is to return to his family's property, and each to his own claim.
Okay, very good. Okay, so what is he calling this? A jubilee. And what is the jubilee?
Sabbath.
Hmm?
It's a Sabbath.
It's Sabbath, but it is the 50th year. But it's identifies it as a release through the land to all its inhabitants. Okay, that each one is going to return to the land that they originated from, even if they had to do what?
Sell it.
Sell it.
They didn't like I was trying to think, was it a day of completion? 7.
Mhm.
It's 7 the number of completion. I know, it just popped in my head.
Mhm.
Something to do with completion during that time.
Right,
God
that's the Sabbath
completes
rest.
His
Right,
cycle.
exactly.
His pattern, the way he's setting it up.
Amen. Amen.
Got it.
Now I got a little confused.
Go ahead.
When you said that they had a return, So they had to return for good?
They returned to the land that they originally had. So let's say, in fact,
Even
it
if they had
says,
other land, they had to sell it, you said.
no,
Well,
hold on just a minute. We'll go to the scripture.
yeah, you're fine. I just,
Do you have it?
well, I have my Bible dictionary. I think it breaks it down
Go ahead.
to make it more simple. It says the Jubilee year is the final year of a cycle of 7 sabbatical periods of 7 years each. The name derives from the ram's horn with which the Jubilee year is inaugurated on Reconciliation Day. Land is left fallow, debts for fellow Israelites are forgiven, and Israelite slaves held by other Israelites are freed. Jubilee laws also include general rules governing fair commercial practices and attention to the economically disadvantaged, particularly among one's own kin.
Very good. Yes, good summary. As you were saying, the Jubilee got its name from the sounding the trumpets, the Jubilee. The actual definition of jubilant is from the jubilation is feeling or expressing great happiness and triumph. So the Jubilee is a triumphant time. It's a time where God has worked His plan through humanity. Now, remember, the Old Testament is a what?
Foreshadowing.
Right, it's law, but it is a foreshadowing of what is to come. So here you have this cycles of work and rest, work and rest, work and rest. Then yearly, 6 years work, 7 years of rest.
That's a long time.
Yeah,
Why wouldn't it be just 6 years of work and 1 year of rest?
yeah.
What did I say?
7 years of rest.
In the 7th year, sorry.
Okay. I'm like, wait
In
a
the
minute.
7th year rest. I'm like, what did
I
I
like
say?
that plan.
What did I say?
I said
What
no.
did I say?
Hey,
I was
that's
just testing you.
excellent.
I was testing you to see
Why
Why
if
can't we
you
do
were
that?
When they say rest, they say no sowing, no pruning. That's the way they meant by
Yep.
that. Right.
that it was God's provision, and it goes back to what you're saying about the completeness that
Yeah.
God has it.
Already taken care of it.
Yes, He's already taken care of us. Enough to provide for 3 years. Because why is it 3 years?
Because you got the year that you're not doing anything,
Right?
so you're eating for that year. Then you got to plant the next year, so you're not getting.
No, you're
anything.
not planting the next year.
Well, no, the next year, because the year that you, the
Oh, I
first
see what you're
year,
saying.
you're not doing anything.
Right?
Then the next year, you're not reaping a crop because you didn't plant. So you have to plant that year, and then the next year you'll harvest.
The first
So
year
that
of
gives
the
3
No.
years.
Oh,
Yeah.
The first
I
year of
agree
the
with that.
6th.
First
you
year
have
is
to
not
plant.
okay.
And then the
I would
second
agree
year
with
of the
You
sixth.
don't do anything, the Jubilee year, I don't think you do anything either.
Right,
No,
that's
Right,
But
that's
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 the
Second.
First one.
the 7th year,
Okay.
is that you don't do anything.
it's only 1 year. The Jubilee year is only 1 year, right?
But the year before that is the Sabbath,
So that's
the
1
seventh
year.
Sabbath, the seventh,
Oh.
you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I got you.
Oh, so you're
49th
saying the
year.
7 times 7 is
The
49.
49th year,
Oh,
there is,
and
is
oh,
the
shoot.
Sabbath rest.
And the
You stand
50th.
corrected.
The
there,
7
bud.
years, right?
Yeah.
And the 50th year is the Jubilee,
So 2 years.
which
not
you're
doing
not
anything.
planting that
There you go,
year.
That's a
Peter.
long time.
So now you have the year, the first year that
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
plant anything,
That's
you're
one.
reaping off
That's
of
one, yeah.
the previous year.
Right.
Which means you're living on a lot of dried peas.
That means no, because the crop is producing 3 years.
Yeah. So it's
That's
regular
right.
good food.
Right?
and,
Right, what she's saying
Right.
is you have to preserve it. Dry
Yeah.
Dried.
No, it's the crop keeps producing for 3
Right.
years.
Oh, I thought you couldn't
no.
prune.
But you can't
You
go
don't
in
think
there.
so?
Yeah, 'cause it
It's
says you can't
untended
pick or prune.
vines. You have to actually just glean
You'd be
what
good.
you can glean. It says untended. Untended means not normal harvesting.
Yeah, I
It
think
says
she's
no
right.
harvesting.
No harvesting.
Yeah.
It says no
Yeah,
harvesting.
It's
you
just
might
like
be
a
right
bunch of
there.
crop
It
that
says
one
no
might be-
harvesting.
you
But
might be
it
right
says
there.
that you can pick from
Yeah, I
the
have to think
ground.
about this.
You can pick from the ground, but there is no harvesting and no tending. That's what I pick up on.
I don't think you pick from the ground. Let's look and see. Let's get clarity, okay?
2021 it right there.
Go ahead.
No.
Because that says crop for 3 years. Verse 20 and 21.
25. What do you got? Who's got what?
What do you got? Jubilee, what?
Let's look at 11.
Huh?
You shall have the 50th year as a jubilee. You shall not sow nor reap There you go. So the bumper crop for 3 years would have to be,
Laid up for,
right, just a crop that was so huge that it would last you for 3 years. You'd reap it and store it, like Laura said about
The story of Joseph.
the story of Joseph.
And it says you don't gather from it either.
Right.
Right, that's what we're saying.
Right.
You gather from it ahead of time, like Joseph did, and stored it. So yes, I stand corrected on that.
Line
It's
12.
not producing each year. It is a bumper crop. Go ahead.
Bumper.
Line 12.
Well, 20 to 22 really explains it.
The 12, I wish somebody would read that.
But if you-
Okay, let's read 11 and 12, and then we'll go to Vicky's.
Okay.
You shall have the 50th years of Jubilee. You shall not sow, nor reap its aftergrowth, nor gather in from its untrimmed vines. For it is the Jubilee. It shall be holy to you. You shall eat its crops out of the field.
What does that mean?
See? But mine says, for it is Jubilee, and to be holy for you, eat only what is taken directly from the fields. So
Yeah.
that means you cannot harvest, but you can only pick up what you, I think from what you can visually see on the outsides, but not do a bona fide harvest. That's what I'm taking that as.
I'm not sure.
Well, you wouldn't be able to harvest
Because it
you
says
haven't
not
sown
reap its
anything.
aftergrowth, which is the seeds that have dropped.
So volunteers.
Right.
Like when you plant tomatoes one year and then the next year you don't plant them, but you get tomatoes anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a
Or-
different, that's an
Or it
aftergrowth.
could be
Yeah.
what gleaning, what dropped.
Can we read 20
But
to 22?
gleaning is-
We will. We'll go
Okay.
there.
Well, it adds to this.
Okay,
That's
okay.
what I'm saying.
Give me a second. Let Laura finish.
Gleaning is going after the folks who have harvested a field and
Right.
picking up the stuff that they dropped.
Afterwards.
Right,
But nobody's harvesting anything, so you can't be gleaning.
well, this would, but what 12 says is a version of gleaning without actually without harvesting taking place.
I don't know.
As far as I understand it, that's kind of like,
That's what I'm taking. 12
like
as.
say when we would go walking down by the bridge at our house and there's blackberries growing there. Nobody tends those blackberries. You just pick them as you're walking and eat some.
Right, they still grow every year,
Yeah.
even if you don't tend that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like the volunteer tomatoes, where you don't do anything with them. They grow up and hey, there's tomatoes.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll go on to Vicky's. Where are you taking us?
20 to 22.
20, go ahead.
But if you say, what are we going to eat on the 7th year, if we do not sow or gather in our crops? Then I will so order my blessings for you in the 6th year that it will bring forth the crop for 3 years. When you are sowing the 8th year, you can still eat old things from the crop, eating the old until the 9th year when the crop comes in.
Right. So the 8th year that you plant,
You're
you're not going to reap till the 9th year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But you're still filled. Like you still have what you need.
Yes.
Right.
But, however, Vicky, you're bringing the point that you can still eat the old
Yes.
from the crop. Right? Is that not what it says?
I don't know what that means.
I'm pretty sure that meant you harvest a crop. I don't think they're saying
I
that.
don't think that's coming out of the
I'm
field.
confused.
No,
I know,
I'm pretty
right?
sure that's.
That's what you have to investigate.
From what I'm understanding, that's saying you can still eat the stuff that you harvested that one year
Yeah. You can still, yeah, that's what I'm
from
saying.
that crop.
It's still good. Whatever
Like
you
you
pick from
say,
that
bringing a
6th
crop
year.
to market, you're saying you're bringing the stuff that you harvested.
Yeah. I'm saying it sounds to me like they're still able to eat from the
Yeah.
crop that they
Yeah, like they put it in
harvested
a
on
silo
the
or
6th year.
storage barn.
So you're
It's
saying
still
it's still
good
growing?
3 years later.
No.
No, what they gathered is still good 3 years later. It has not.
Yeah.
It has not
That's how I
perished.
understood it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not
Pretty
I'm
sure
not
that's what
sure.
it is.
It tells us to go to Exodus 16:5.
It has not perished yet.
That's
Well,
what my Bible
I don't
says.
think that he have to reiterate that there. He already said it would last for 3 years.
Well,
Oh, scare me. Oh, come on in.
Hey,
Come on in.
hey, buddy.
How you doing?
Tired.
How you doing, boss?
Sam doing okay tonight?
She's all right.
All right.
Good.
That's good
Good
news.
to see you.
the reiterating
We're
thing,
in Leviticus 25.
the reiterating thing,
We've
the
gone
Bible
backwards.
does that pretty often. It'll state the same thing a couple of times
Mm-hmm.
for emphasis
Yeah.
and clarification. So
What?
I think what they're saying is that it's, bumper crop, you store it away, and you're still eating from that harvest.
Yep, it could be. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Well, it makes a reference here to go to Exodus 16:5.
Let's try Exodus 16:5. This is part of that come let us reason together. 16:5.
Yeah.
When they prepare what they bring in, will be twice as much as they gather. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's putting that now.
God has given you such an
into-
abundance that you will be taken care of for that 3 years until
Exactly.
the 8th year when you plant again to harvest on the 9th.
It's the same
So
concept.
he's not going to let you starve
Right.
and only
Exactly.
give you a year's worth. He's giving you as much as you need.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have like bumper crops.
Well, blessings. He calls them blessings.
He calls
Uh-huh.
it a
There would be a
blessing.
bumper crop, and then I
Yeah.
think there would be a lot
Yeah.
of drying of food involved.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But you know the dried beans and stuff. Yeah. Wouldn't you?
I don't know.
Well, God didn't make.
I mean,
He
yeah.
can make. He didn't make their clothes go
Yeah.
away in his
Yeah.
clothes didn't go away in 40 years.
Divine
Stuff
provision.
didn't rot, so.
If you had a bumper crop, you'd say, okay, I'm going to store some.
Yeah.
Charlie?
Well, when y'all were talking, it's like God was telling me, the Lord was speaking to me, said that I'm teaching you that my law of multiplication and how that when you sow a tithe and like in our fellowship here, or you sow an offering and gift, that's a seed planted, right? And that seed, God takes that seed and distributes wherever He wants to for His will, for the betterment and the good
Yep.
of His kingdom here in this place. And He knows far in advance what's going to happen.
Amen.
You know, what we're going to sow in and everything.
Amen.
But that's what.
Very good.
That's what it is.
Very good. So, we see there is a bumper crop that provides for 3 years, right? Okay, now let's look at, where are we going next?
From Exodus.
We're still in Leviticus 25. The law of redemption, starting with verse 23. Let's see. Debbie, would you read, I'm trying to see how far down.
Where are we going to?
23 through 26. Would you read 23 through 26?
Oh, okay. We're still on 25.
We are.
So yeah, 23.
CC.
The land must not be sold permanently, because the land is mine and you are but aliens and my tenants. Throughout the country that you hold as a possession, you must provide for the redemption of the land. If one of your countrymen becomes poor and sells some of his property, his nearest relative is to come and redeem what his countryman has sold.
26 as well, please.
Okay. If, however, a man has no one to redeem it for him, but he himself prospers and acquires sufficient means to redeem it.
Okay. I need somebody who has a New American Standard to read verse 26.
I guess I can.
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it. For in case a man has no kinsman, but so recovers his means as to find sufficient for its redemption.
Okay. I'm not sure. Did your verse in 25 also say
Well, it's got a
nearest?
comma,
Nearest?
and then it goes on to 27.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Oh,
I'm looking for the word kinsman.
It says kin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
So-
said.
she said
kinsman.
kinsman.
Yes, in verse 25 and verse 26
Oh,
Yes.
is
Yeah.
what I'm trying to.
Mine says the person in 26.
Yeah, and the reason I'm
Mine says kinsman.
highlighting that for a reason.
okay.
The word kinsman.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so he's saying if a fellow countryman of yours becomes so poor he has to sell part of his property, or then his nearest kinsman is to come and buy back what his relative has sold.
I see, okay.
Okay? So, there's a point to this, that it's the nearest kinsman. And I'm trying to draw attention to that because we're in Ruth. So we're doing some background study on how you handle property and relationships in terms of economic, the way economics is carried out through Israel, according to what God has already provided. And so we'll see this Levitical law that is laid down is going to be applied in Ruth. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
can anybody make a jump and tell me why?
Well,
Taking care of the family?
Naomi,
Specifically, yeah. Specifically, kinsman redeemer. When you
What?
say taking care of the family, what do you mean by that?
You know, if a family member is
I'm
had.
talking specifically to Ruth. I'm asking. That's
Oh,
that's the
okay.
question I'm asking.
Okay,
is kinsman redeemer.
Well, then that would be, Ruth, let me see, would be, wow.
It's okay if you need a minute. That's what we're doing. We're thinking about how this, Dennis.
Well, Ruth was the wife of Naomi's son,
Yes.
and Naomi's husband, came from a tribe in Israel. So somebody who's closely related to Naomi's husband in the year of Jubilee would have to redeem them. So I don't know, did they go back in the year of Jubilee? I don't remember reading that.
It must
I
have
see.
been.
I think so. I
Okay,
think
and
they
then,
did.
so,
I'll
they would have
go.
sold property before they left, and
Say-
they would
Yes.
And then
10
they
years
would
before.
regain their property back.
That's what happens in the year of Jubilee.
So,
Right.
so then Naomi goes back and might be able to regain her property back.
Right. Through what? Through what?
Through,
Jonathan.
That's the word. What?
redemption.
No. Well,
Kin-
yes, it is
kinsman.
redemption.
Kinsman.
Kinsman.
Through the kinsman redeemer, and I'm throwing that word at you because
Kinsman.
Right.
It's going to be important.
it's
Okay.
going to be important.
Okay.
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 But it had to be a kinsman, and it was a blood relative. A blood, yes. Kinsman
Well, Dennis
redeemer,
helped.
ding ding. A blood
Dennis helped my
relative,
brain.
right? And that's what he's saying. Could be an uncle. Where did we see that before? Sorry. Where was that? Who sees
Good
that?
job.
I think it's
Good job, Mom.
I didn't think it was
later
that
on.
good.
The uncle? Is it further
Good.
further on?
Yeah.
Might be. Might be. Might not have gotten to that yet. Okay, we'll press on. So that is the law of redemption as it applies to the land, right? Okay. Where is it? 48. Okay. 48 and 49. Sally found it. Ding ding for Sally. Thank you. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. We'll go to the of poor countrymen. Now it's talking about in 35. Now in the case of a countryman, and they're talking about Israelites, right? Of yours becomes poor, and his means with regard to you falter, then you are to sustain him like a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with you. Do not take usurious interest from him, but revere your God, that your countrymen may live with you. You shall not give him your silver at interest, nor your food for gain. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan and to be your God. What is the point of this? Who can summarize what's happening in these couple verses?
I've given to you, so you should be given to others.
Yes.
I didn't charge you interest,
Yes.
so, and hold something over your head is how much I've done for you.
Yes.
So you don't hold anything over somebody's head when you do something for them.
Yes. I have redeemed, yes. I have redeemed my
On fire
people.
over there.
Who are you to put them back in bondage, right? He's already done that. Now, there could be a temporary bondage for the what? Repaying of a debt.
That,
There's somewhere, and I don't remember where, Dennis might remember, there's a scripture that says, if you don't work,
You don't eat.
you don't eat.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay? So he's not saying, well, he
Take
is saying
care
two,
of-
he is saying two things.
Not to take care of them completely, they have to do something.
Yeah.
They're
So
saying
what
that
you
they
give
need to
them.
serve with you until the year of Jubilee, and then they will be released.
Yes.
They'll be freed.
Yes. So what's happening when they're serving until the Jubilee?
They're paying off their debt
They're paying off their debt. But they're to be treated
as laborers, not
as laborers,
slaves.
not slaves, with respect.
respect.
Because you revere God.
Exactly.
Even if you don't revere the people, it's because you revere God that you do that.
Wasn't most slaves though from heathen countries?
Many were, but oftentimes if a Israelite fell on hard times, they would sell their land, which actually in this case would be more like a land lease.
Yeah, it would be.
Because once the Jubilee happened, it reverted back to the person. Now, he does give some, but yes, there was a lot of slaves, and I want to get back to that
Imagine if we
thought,
tried to
which
do this
connects to your
nowadays.
thought. Pardon?
Imagine if we tried to do this nowadays.
Pressing the
Your
restart would be pretty
cutthroat,
tricky.
money-hungry boogers would be just
Uh,
in an uproar.
yeah, in an uproar.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, well, they would. What's the truth? They would be thinking of money, 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 money.
Yes, and that's why God made this provision. You're right. Absolutely. That's why God made this provision. And he tells them not to take interest off of
Yeah.
people, right?
Well, he set all this up, but did they ever actually
No, not to
follow
my knowledge, they did not follow it.
for exactly the reason?
the reason Debbie said. I
Yeah.
fear that was probably the problem. Okay, so if we go on to 39, it says, and if a countryman of yours becomes so poor with regard that to you that he sells himself to you, you shall not subject him to a slave service. He shall be with you as a hired man, as if he were a sojourner. He shall serve with you until the year of Jubilee. He shall then go out from you, he and his sons with him, and shall go back to his family, and he may return to the property of his forefathers, right? So the land that God gave to the Israelites,
Right.
to the tribes, that land was to stay with those tribes.
So it goes back.
And to their descendants,
Right.
and their descendants'
Before them.
descendants.
Right.
Right? And so he's saying the person needs to serve out their term, so to speak, and pay back with you what they owe, but don't take advantage of them. Okay? For now, 42, for they are my servants, whom I brought out from the land of Egypt. They are not to be sold in a slave sale. You shall not rule over him with severity, but are to revere your God. As for your male and female slaves whom you may have, you may, this is where we're getting to your question and to Sid's, you may acquire male and female slaves from the pagan nations that are around you. Then too, it is out of the sons of the sojourners who live as aliens among you that you may gain acquisition, and out of their families who are with you, whom they will have produced in your land. They also may become your possession, and then you can hand them down as possessions in your family. So we see two different rules being established.
Yeah.
What do we know about, say, column A and column B?
Well,
What's
yeah.
column A?
Israel versus the pagans.
Israel versus pagans. Okay. Then what else do we have that's a
Free
contrast?
versus slave, bondage, or free and bondage.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, you want to go the spiritual route. Free is anybody under God is free.
Well,
You
let's
have-
talk about Israel first.
First, okay.
Let's talk about that first, and then we can make the
Well,
application.
they were the chosen people
Yes.
by God, so they were free to come and go and go essentially where they want. And
Say that again.
I said come and go where they want, I guess.
Yeah,
Because there's God's chosen people.
okay,
Where the pagan nations were in bondage because they didn't have that freedom to do that.
okay. They were in bondage when you say to do that. I'm getting really specific
Yeah,
because
I
I think
know.
it's important.
I
Well,
know.
you know, the devil's in
I'm
the
trying not to go,
details.
You got
that's
to
all the
Define it.
spiritual
You
part,
gotta define it.
Yeah,
but
so
But
someone else comment on what Vicky said so far. You have Israel and pagan nation, servants, slaves. What is the difference between what God is saying about how the servants, the Israel servants, are being treated as opposed to the pagan slaves?
Well,
The Israelites are continued to be viewed as your brothers and should be treated kindly.
Yes,
The pagans are whatever, and you could treat them however you so see fit.
yes,
And
Their problem.
that's kind of the thing. It's
That's
God
because of-
continuing to protect the Israelites.
yes. When you say continuing to protect, let's go back to the origin. Where did that begin? And what happened then?
Egypt.
Yes.
and they were slaves.
Yeah, and they were slaves.
right.
What happened to them?
They multiplied.
They were God's chosen people, and God heard their cry, and He delivered His people from slavery. They were now His people.
Right.
So no man can be, no Israelite, no
be a
person
slave.
who has come free
Can-
by God
can be-
can become a slave to another person because they belong
To God.
Yeah.
to God.
And that's why.
Where do the pagans belong to? I'll come to you in a second.
Right.
Where do the pagans,
well, this is
how do they fit into this?
They don't know God's. They don't know freedom because they don't know God.
Right. So let's go back to the story. How do they differ from the Israel?
They're
Adam, they all come from Adam, right? What is the difference between the Israelites and the pagans?
But they're not
Pagans belong to
Christian.
Say
Satan,
God.
The
the God of
pagans
this world.
belong to the God of this world, and they are already enslaved.
Right.
They're enslaved by Satan.
Right?
Well, the Israelites belong to God.
The Israelites belong to
Right.
God.
And my point, what I was thinking,
Sure, you
is
go
here
ahead.
today, we look at all the politics and all this mumbo jumbo stuff and everything, but when we really look at Israel, we are close to Israel, and we will always be that way. And we should really be supportive of them because they are God's people. I mean, let's face it. I mean, not even though, they may not come right out and say we worship Jesus Christ, but God has already made a promise that they are His chosen people. Okay? And in a way, we're adopted Jews, right? Aren't we,
Well,
aren't
what
we,
I'm
aren't we
gonna
part of that now?
I'm gonna take you to scripture.
Okay. Take it.
Galatians 3, 26, 27, 28.
Now there's no,
Dennis?
now there's no more Jew or Gentile, slave or free man,
Right,
male or female,
right.
but all are,
Freeman or slave?
Yeah.
But all are
One.
one. He has broken down the
They don't-
dividing lines.
They don't
The-
understand that, though.
The barriers that have been established through the curse
Right.
and God's redemptive plan. Those barriers, really the division between man and woman and the way that they were viewed in society and indeed by God, started out as what?
Equals.
Equals. And God created Eve out of Adam, and He said, let them have dominion over the earth. And when sin came into the world, when they had their little issue in the garden, careful of your gardening, the snakes will get in.
a woman.
Yeah. So sin came in, the blame game, the shame game, disobedience, denial, accusations, and the curse entered, which was punishment for disobedience to God. And He said, the
Right.
day you disobey me, you're going to die.
Right.
Both physically and spiritually, there's going to be an impact on you. So, in that day, God pronounced that the man would then rule over the woman. So, if the man is ruling over the woman as a result of sin, what was it before sin? The man and the woman ruled together,
Together.
right?
Yes. No one knew one another.
Right, exactly. And so between Jew and Gentile, he says there's now no dividing line.
Right.
Through the Jewish nation, all should come to know that was their part of their plan. If you go back to Genesis and you look at what God told Abraham, that he was going to use him to bless all the world.
Right.
Not just a special chosen people, but through him, the whole world would be blessed. So that was the intention of God's revelation of his special people and what he was going to do with that. I had some kind of flashback from my big friend Greek wedding. And so to my people and something.
Great civilization.
Yeah, what was that?
Spray some Windex.
Yeah, put someone else on. Well, he's telling about his Greek ancestry and the history of our people. And, sorry, I digress. Okay, so where are we? Who are we? We're talking about something.
I was
Charlie?
Ruth and Boaz, darn it.
Yep, we're getting there.
What do you want?
But this is really important for us to understand what's going to go on with Boaz and Ruth and, how that
So
applies to us today.
slaves, I mean, God didn't really approve of slaves, but the idea, the whole slave system was already in place. So he was working the best way he could with, slave. I'm just trying to address what how Sally's concern was. It's like God now dealing with concubines and all that. I think it's the same kind of thing. Trying to work with the sin of the world, and I think slavery, working with the sin of the world, and trying to work with it as well as you could.